Welcome back to Daruma Dojo Dialogues. I'm here with Coach Olivia Sawi.
Hey everyone.
Good morning.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right. So, Coach has been here at Daruma Dojo now for going on a year?
Almost a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Going on a year.
And we did a really, really cool women's self-defense seminar this weekend.
Yeah, it was so fun. And there was quite a turnout. I was pleasantly surprised, and everybody that I talked to loved it. And I think we have a lot of interest moving forward for the women's self-defense program, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that was kind of our plan, was to have a big kickoff event and market it and promote it so that we can get some women to come here and then continue to come to your women's program on Saturday, which is great. Yeah, that was a great turnout. I had a lot of fun. Everyone was laughing. Everyone has a good time learning some self-defense. I hope everyone went home with like something that they can remember and also some inspiration. Yeah.
I always say that I mentioned it in the seminar that I think the best martial art for self-defense is the one that you train regularly, and then once you train something, then you might get interested in something else or just focus on different types of things. And yeah,
because if you come to self-defense, I think especially like when you're like a kid or something, you're like, I went to karate class, just try to grab my arm, right? And then they kind of trust the technique a little too much. Like when you say, when something happens in a situation and the adrenaline kicks in, if it's not muscle memory, if it's not something trained on a regular basis and you don't have those instincts, it could be dangerous.
It could be pretty dangerous, yeah. Like as a rule, I teach a lot of self-defense seminars, like in various different communities, like in the queer, trans, and like the BIPOC community as well. And sometimes they don't have spaces that they feel safe in, but I always say you have to find some place to train. And sometimes I help people try to find spots, but because it's so important, I think. And I tell them straight up, any environment that I teach in, I say, I think that single day self-defense seminars can be really dangerous because it does give you that false sense of security. But, I always wanted a space to be able to do self-defense, like a women's self-defense class weekly. And I would do seminars here and there, but I never had a space, an environment that was nurturing and helping me do that. So thank you for the opportunity, because I'm an interdisciplinary martial artist, and it's hard to find a space sometimes that helps, nurture all of those things. And so with the self-defense program, I'm trying to build our curriculum based on the Jiujitsu program. And I'm going to be adding Pekiti Tirsia Kali, which is a Filipino martial art, some Muay Thai, and some Krav Maga, because I have a friend who is an instructor, and all my instructors, and even yourself included, like they've all been really supportive and say, yeah, let's just talk, and like, let's talk cross martial arts and see how we can build something that's effective and fun. It's got to be fun.
Yeah, if it's not fun, why are we gonna do it, right?
Exactly.
I think like there's reasons why, like, I wanna defend myself, or I wanna get in shape, and all these different reasons why people start martial arts. But if it's not fun, you're not gonna stick with it.
Yeah, and I've been to some self-defense classes or some other martial arts classes throughout the years, and it just was so serious and so it's like I don't want to do it, because I like when I train and when I teach. It's always light. It's, not always, like there's always a time and space, of course, for rolling really hard, but if I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. And a vast majority of folks aren't dedicating their life to martial arts like we are, so it's like, it's got to be fun, and it's got to be, they've got to be in a space where they could actually feel safe and learn, because then it's really hard to like even learn if you feel like you're always going to like come to class and be like smashed or berated or like so serious, it's really hard.
Yeah. Or if you have that sort of environment that you're talking about where it's fun and open, I think that people are more likely to be able to open up and be themselves.
Yeah.
And be like more genuine, and then they can make mistakes and won't be afraid to be, like said, berated. Like if you have certain instructors that you come and they're just so serious, you're kind of on edge and you're like tense, and I don't want to mess up because then I'll get scolded or I'll feel less than. And then so I think when you joke around and you coach, people are a little more relaxed and are able to be themselves.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think letting people be themselves, like, because we get people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
like in the dojo and like various gyms. Like you never know where people are coming from. Some
Right.
people, and like once you get to know people, like certain people that we've talked about in the gym before, like you can harass them and have fun with them, but others, you have to learn like who you have to be more gentle with, but until you get to know them. And sometimes, I think jiu-jitsu is a great place to help people come out of their shells and learn how to be themselves and learn how to be confident in themselves and show their true self instead of like always having to hide.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that takes a lot of years and like introspective work as well, like with jiu-jitsu and even outside of jiu-jitsu, to understand, like start to understand who your true self really is.
Yes.
And I've noticed in your teaching, and especially like even in the self-defense seminar this last Saturday, that you're able to kind of connect in that way as well. Like maybe stuff you've learned through jiu-jitsu or your other studies that you've done, but it seems to be a lot more holistic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really, in other spaces, I really believe that fitness is not just physical fitness. You have to have physical, emotional, spiritual, and emotional health. And I really think that physical activity, especially through martial arts, is one way to connect like mind, body, and spirit.
I think your mic just...
My back. No.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, my fluffy came off.
The fluffy came off.
My
I
fluffy
apologize.
It's
That's okay. We could do without the fluffy. It's
We
not
no
necessary.
fluffy. Okay, It's not really windy in here. It's okay. So, but yeah, like and one thing I said is connect to your breath, because
you mentioned that in the beginning. That was really cool.
Yeah, because one thing I did before, you may not know this. One thing I did before teaching jiu-jitsu was I did a lot of healing work and a lot of holistic stuff, and I was in the healing world for a long time. And in other communities that I'm in, I do a lot of community work with a lot of my friends in like the Filipino American spiritual community, and a lot of it is just coming into your own self and finding, number one, like connecting with your ancestry, which is totally a different topic, but also connecting to whatever spiritual, whatever that you believe in. But a lot of that is also looking into yourself first, and a lot of that, connecting to your body. So, because a lot of us, whether you experience trauma in any way or just have stressors, whatever, sometimes we forget to breathe, and a lot of it comes to breath and just being in the moment and in those spaces. Yeah. I want to shout out some of my friends. Hi, Jana, Joe, Vanessa, Orion, Amy. Love y'all. They're part of my crew. So.
Super cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I noticed that in your teaching, which was really impressive. I liked it. I'm proud to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Because I feel like I resonate with that as well, because of some of the searching that I've done in my past or still am doing, right? And connecting with mind, body, spirit, which I find physical activity for me helps, right? Jiu-jitsu, of course, and then doing cardio workouts or long distance running, like those things help. But sometimes you just have to sit and like, whether it's meditation or journaling or therapy or whatever it is that you're doing, to look inside, right? And then, but if you don't have that safe space at the dojo, then you're not gonna help cultivate this holistic or multi-layer training. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So.
And sometimes I when I present things, I have to read the room, and some people won't resonate with that side of things. Some people are only into the physical, which is totally fine. Like, I don't mind, but like, I always believe, I have a tagline in one of my things. It's like fitness through the bodies, so if everything because I know a lot of people in the spiritual world, spiritual world, whatever that means, like the communities, they're focusing a lot on like their spiritual side, and their emotional stuff, which is really amazing. But a lot of times they kind of neglect or forget like their physical side, and it's like, well, but a lot of people now are like, okay, go for a walk. Like I even say, like, just go for a walk, connect with nature. Go for a walk, go for a hike. Even gardening is something physical.
Right.
Even starting that way.
Yeah.
Because some people I talk to, like, whether in the gym or like personal training or whatever, it's like, I don't know where to start. And it's like, do something you like, go on a walk, connect with yourself in some way. And some people don't know how, or are scared to, or think it's like weird to connect that way. But I think to be a complete person, you have to connect with all of those things, So
I agree.
yeah.
And I think doing something you like, it's more about making a conscious effort to make it a routine.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, if I make 30 minutes a day to get out in nature and garden, or get out and go for a walk, after a few weeks it becomes like a second nature. Oh, I'm gonna, you don't think much about it. You don't debate. And then as you go, you're like, okay, what else can I add on to this? Should I go to the gym? Should I do yoga? Should I go to do jiu-jitsu, right? Like, I think making those healthy habits is important.
Yeah, it's all I think about, making healthy habits. Like I've been reading a lot of like stuff like online and stuff. There's like the difference between being motivated and being disciplined. It's like, well, you're so motivated to do all these things. Like, not necessarily. I'm just disciplined enough to get up and try to do it. It's like, I often tell people who like start training, it's like the most difficult part is getting to the gym, like getting in the car, like. And some people are like, oh, sometimes I just don't want to go to the gym. And I'm like, put your bag in the car the night before and say, I'm already packed. Let's just go. Just get yourself out. But like, for various reasons, like people sometimes have a hard time, they have, people have lives, and sometimes for various reasons they can't get out of bed, which is difficult to hear, but it's, sometimes we just have to get out of bed. And even though it's difficult, to just do a thing, just do something, even if it's just to take a shower, which can be very hard as well, depending on what state you're in. It can be really hard, but just to actually get there, right? And then show up first. Like showing up, like training, showing up is probably sometimes the hardest part for people to show up.
That's 75%.
75%
is just showing up. And I always have arbitrary percentages.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know exactly where they come from. They come from my experience. I think they're not too far off, but they're
that sounds good.
75%, right? Some
one.
people say it's like 90%, but I think it's a little less than that. But yeah, like you said, I've been in, in down and not so great spots in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make my bed today, and just like you said, just taking a shower for some people is gonna be hard because they're in a bad, maybe depressed or not feeling well. So you can't. What's your motivation that day, right? It's not to go run 3 miles.
No, definitely,
But it could be just to brush your teeth. Like, I'm gonna do something to self-care. Because you mentioned something that, like, in the spiritual world, sometimes people neglect the physical. They're reading certain scriptures, or they're praying, or they're meditating, and that's really good to connect your mental into your spiritual side. But they're not connected to the physical, right? But I was mentioning like cleaning or making the bed, because when you make the bed, I feel that you're cleaning everything around you, and so that makes you feel like you're carrying less baggage, or you feel a little lighter, you feel like you've done something for good. And then if you do the same thing for physical, this is like our room or our house, right, where it's holding our life. And if you do something physical, you're like, oh, I feel good now because I feel like I've done something to clean up my body.
Yeah, even if you just make like making your bed like a meditation, or you don't even have to frame it that way.
Right.
Like it could be like, I'm doing this and I'm just going to focus on this right now, and also celebrating. And, depending on where you're at, emotionally or wherever you're at, it's like mentally celebrating yourself, even if it's like a tiny thing. If you say, I'm going to do this today, and you do it, it's like, I'm going to celebrate, like, woo, and it's okay to, like, some people think it's silly, but it's good to celebrate yourself for like small things, and like, And I picked that up. Like I've taught children for many years. I'm an educator, you know, and sometimes I teach kids from like kindergarten, like through college, and it's like even the college kids like need those small celebrations, you know, even more so. Our young people need like celebrations, and sometimes there's so much pressure already on our young people to do certain things, and it's like, I'm gonna celebrate you, you know, but going back to like even just making your bed, like making a meditation, get out of, you know, do something and celebrate it, even if it's just going to brush your teeth. I brushed my teeth today. Amazing, you did it.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. Like it sounds sarcastic when I say it, but like sometimes it's like that's what it is that day, you know, like that's the thing for the day, you know.
But then eventually it becomes like, okay, I woke up, I made my bed, I had a coffee, I did my meditation, I did my workout, I went to work, I went home, I studied, I played some music, I read a book, and then I brushed my teeth, took a shower, went to, it's like before you know it, all these little habits start adding up, and then you don't even think about it anymore. So, but one thing at a time.
One thing at a time, you know, it doesn't have to be, just like learning jujitsu, right? It doesn't have to be all at once. You don't have to be good right away, you know? Sometimes it's like, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna learn this thing first. Okay, I learned one thing today, I did one thing today, then the next day could be another, and you build upon what you've already done. Yeah. I think it's important to celebrate the steps that you take and not just be like, I could have done, you know, looking forward, you can say, I wanna do this, but to live in a space where you can say, I could have done this or I should have done this, like that's a hard place to get to, but like to celebrate yourself for the things that you have already done.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Totally, because I think in that case, you're able to like have a moment in the present where you're like, okay, this was good. Because I think jiu-jitsu, especially if you're talking about as an example, it's so overwhelming, and you're always we always compare ourselves to other people, and especially as a beginner, right? You're like looking around the room and you think, man, like how I'm not gonna ever be that good, or I'm not getting any of this, or I need to do this, or like you're always like kind of looking other things that you wish you could or should or can't do yet or want to do in the future, but you probably, if you were paying attention in that class, you probably took away at least 2 or 3, at least one thing that you learned that day, and you could be like, hey, I learned this technique, or I learned this detail, and you know, I'm gonna celebrate that. And then I bet you, I don't know the psychology of this, but I imagine that when you celebrate it, you actually probably implant it in your brain better.
I think so. I think that's so true. I have a lot of white belts especially ask me when they first start, like, what am I doing? And it's like, well, you just started. I always say, be kind to yourself. The first 6 weeks are going to be really, really hard.
Yeah.
And like, it might feel like you have no idea what's happening. You probably don't have any idea what's happening. Even the first 6 months can be like, what's going on? Why am I, what's happening? And I always say, make sure you communicate with your partner if it's too much, you know, like, and say, you know, can we just focus on this one thing, or train with someone who is willing to go at that pace? And, you know, I think in this environment, people are really willing to, like, I think people have open communication here. Like, I always like advocate, like, to have open communication with your training partner, you know, and this is a really 100%. This is a really safe space to do that. I've been in spaces where it's like not always safe, like, it's kind of like, but
I think it's important for us to teach that, because I mean, I have a rule here. It's on my sparring rules list on the wall, which is, you know, every round, when it comes time to the sparring portion of the class, which in the fundamentals class it's less, but you know, if you do the all levels or you do the beyond fundamentals, there's more sparring. But every round you have the opportunity to either roll, to take a rest, or to do repetitions. So the 3 R's, right? So they have that right. There's a 4 R's. But I think we need to teach them that, because some people don't think that's okay to ask, right? And I even tell people too, like you're saying, is when you do want to roll and you notice somebody's like, you know, maybe going a little more aggressive than you expected or going harder, you can either, you have the option, you know, you can stop. 1, or you can communicate with them, say, hey, like, can we slow it down? Or 3, you can even ask them, can we just work from this specific position? And then Like something simple, like I'm gonna be on bottom side control and you're gonna try to mount or submit, and then whatever happens, we restart from side control. And then whenever you do that kind of very isolated sparring, there's much less chance for injury because things aren't getting out of control.
Yeah, and I think as coaches, it's, you know, it's important for us to like foster an environment like that, like, and even be more explicit about it, because it's like, it's kind of more implicit for everybody who's been here. Like, you could always talk to your partner, but sometimes it's really hard for people to like say that, like, am I being a wimp? You know, like,
Right.
I'm on a lot of different forums. It's like, what do you do if this and this happens? It's like, communicate with your partner, and it's like, oh, my gym doesn't do that. It's like, find a new place to go.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing I always say, it's like, something I always try to get people to understand is like, just because you roll with somebody one day doesn't mean you have to roll with them again. You could always say no.
Yeah.
You could always like decline and say, I'd rather do something else, or just, you don't even have to give a reason, right? And it should be accepted and be like, no one takes offense.
Yeah.
But like, I think jiu-jitsu reflects how we are. The way that you do jiu-jitsu, practice and train jiu-jitsu reflects a lot the way you are in your everyday life. And I think sometimes people in general have a hard time speaking up for themselves, whether being up like whether it be someone socialized that way, even if you're a male or female or whatever, however you identify. Some people just are not socialized to speak up for their own needs in general. And it's like a way, if I personally can foster that somewhere here, you know, I've seen people build confidence just by being able to speak up, like in everyday life, just being able to speak up on the mat, because they were able to reinforce their boundaries one place, you know. And sometimes like I'm sure you've seen this throughout your years of training, it's like the way you rule is kind of the way you are as a person, you know. Like if you have a hard time like committing to something, you'll have a hard time committing to a thing, you know, like in general. But like if we can teach people to stand up for themselves here, like, and even if it's saying, no, I don't want to do that right now, or I'm going to do this instead, and like, you don't have to give explanations. It should be the end of it. You know, it's like, why don't you want to roll? It's like, well, you can say, I don't feel like it, you know, like it doesn't have to be like a long thing, you know.
Maybe half the people will ask why, right?
Yeah.
And then you can give a reason, you don't have to, but I bet if someone said why and you give a reason, which whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a reason. It could just be, I don't want to, or not right now. I doubt they're going to come a second time. Yeah. You know, they might just generally be concerned. Like, are you injured?
Yeah, of course.
Or was it something that I did last time? Could I do something different? But yeah, I think for me, like you mentioned something about standing up for yourself. Like for me, I think growing up, I had a hard time standing up for myself, and I always kind of shied away from confrontations and always avoided those things as much as possible. So jiu-jitsu definitely helped me with that. Over time, I was able to learn how to speak up for myself in difficult situations. And then I started to recognize like moments where it's like, hey, this is important for me, so I'm gonna say something. And if it's not that important, then I'm gonna let it go. But in the beginning, and even now, still sometimes when I have to say something, it's difficult. You know, but we have to do difficult things like in order for growth and to stand up for what's right. I mean, great example, which was on Saturday, right? We had a lady who was here with their daughter, and the husband it was the very, very first technique he showed. And then, you know, we had a couple of husbands and that were here during the training, and we were like, okay, that's fine, like as long as they're not distracting. And he went straight over them and started helping them, right, from outside the mat. And I was like, do you know that guy? He's like, no. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to tell them to not coach, right? And it's kind of difficult because I find it's confrontational.
Yeah.
Like I have to go tell them what not to do. But it's the right thing to do. And so I had to go do it, and do it in as graceful as possible. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I applauded you for that, because that's hard to do, because it's like, especially because we didn't know who they were at all. They probably heard about it from something, and if you don't know them, like, that's hard because you haven't had we had no relationship with that person. I had no idea who they were.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know them. I thought like You know?
I thought it was like one of your seafood.
No. Yeah. I would have been like, oh, hey, but like, that was really good. That was really cool that you did that. And I was like, I don't know, like what?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was like helping them. I just thought he was talking to them. So, but thank you for
No, I
standing
could tell
in.
he was definitely trying to help, but like I think we wanted to cultivate a space for women and for them to feel safe and also to not feel judged. Where like, hey, it's okay to do it wrong, and it's okay to ask the questions. Like, if you're doing it wrong, we have us here that can help, or maybe even a partner next to them that's doing it correctly, right? They don't have to. Man, I felt slightly out of place, because it's a women's self-defense seminar, and I was the only guy on the mat with like 42 women, and I didn't want to go around and be like, no, do it like this. And I'm not, and usually in seminars, I'm not overly corrective, especially like a self-defense seminar where it's a lot of people like first time or second, third, like they only come to these seminars to learn like little things and have fun. And you can't take it too seriously, and you can't make sure the technique is perfect, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I don't go, but I was just make myself available, and then every once in a while, I try to help every group like one time at least, and something small. But yeah, I guess what I was trying to go to there was, there's a few things that you said during the seminar when you were coaching that kind of shed a little bit of light of like what it is to be a woman, or what if you identify as a woman. And then I was thinking, man, like this is kind of like what it is for women training jiu-jitsu all the time.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, I'm on the other end of it. Like, here's my percentage in my mind is that out of all the people that do jiu-jitsu, it's about 10% women. That's from my experience. So when you come to the class, it's mostly guys usually, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one could feel out of place, I bet.
Yeah. I was like, it was interesting for you to have that experience. Yeah, because it could be really.
Because you mentioned a couple of things that were like, oh wow, that's how women have to think.
Like what were you like?
I guess you were mentioning certain cultures and how women are taught or programmed to think a certain way, like I know you didn't say exactly like this, but like to listen and not like speak, or to follow directions and not take their own route, you know what I mean? So they're probably, maybe women sometimes I'm not a woman, but this is what I've taken from you is like, wow, sometimes they must feel, must be more difficult for them to have their opinion and voice their opinion because maybe they're, so how can that relate to the mat? Maybe they'll have a hard time asking a question.
No, for sure, yeah. Like Tibet, like definitely, I'm not a representative of all women, obviously. I'm a representative of myself, just saying that. But like culturally, and just like reading a bunch of posts, like I'm on like different women's forums and stuff like that, and like jiu-jitsu mainly, but like, and like even culturally, like even in the Filipino community, speaking from that experience, some women are just like, however you're socialized, like sometimes like what they say doesn't even matter, like even like in various American communities, like I don't like it's like you have no decision making power, like you don't, and it's hard for women sometimes to build that confidence in themselves to even be able to do something like martial arts, like I don't want for themselves, like, or like whether it's a partner or a parent and somebody older than them saying, no, you can't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's not proper. Like various communities are still like that, and it's, and so I always applaud any woman who comes through the door, even though we're like a quote unquote modern society, there's still parts of it that don't see women as equals, like, so, and some people are scared, like, oh, you're a feminist, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're just trying to do our thing. It's like and trying to make the healthy decisions for ourselves, and like, I especially see that, a lot of women's spaces, and especially like the veering off a little bit, like in various like queer, trans, like gender conformative and non-conforming, sorry, gender non-conforming and BIPOC spaces, you know, like different cultural things, and just learning how to address those, and like not address them, but just like be sensitive and be respectful of those things, but also encouraging. You know, that takes a lot of practice. So like, how do you encourage without like, you know, how do we do this without getting people in trouble? Like, I hate like thinking that they're going to get in trouble doing something like this to protect themselves. But sometimes, you know, like I've heard like, oh, my whoever doesn't want me doing this right now, or like, you know, if I do this, I'm not like, even I was on a jiujitsu Facebook group, and one woman is like, we're trying to have a kid, which is cool, like, but my partner doesn't want me to do this jiu-jitsu competition, or like my partner is not supportive of my jiu-jitsu right now. It's like, I can't imagine not supporting him. Like, why is he not, like, what is this? Like, and everybody was like, that's a red flag, you know, like if they're not supportive of this. Like there was not as much context, but it's like, even like, you know, the support, even just like an intimate partner, it's like, it can be hard sometimes, you know? But like, I'm lucky. I've never, like, growing up, I think the reason why I've been able to do so much stuff, like in my life, I've done a lot of different things in life. And my parents never made me believe I couldn't do something. You know, they always supported my whatever I was doing, even though it was weird, you know, like I've done a lot of different things. And my wife right now, like, is so supportive of everything I do. And she helps me with doing a lot of stuff. And that's how we try to raise our son. I was the gestational partner for our son, Kalayo, and we're trying to cultivate whatever he wants to do. And like, but within reason, you know, and like, I mean, he's a guy, he's a young guy, and he's 9. Very much a little boy, like super active, and we try to introduce him to all these things, like just to make sure he has the options, you know. And we would treat him the same. We would treat our child if whatever was a boy or a girl, you know. But I do know some women in my family. Some women in my family aren't like able to express themselves in certain ways, you know, and like. Or people that I know, you know. I think it's really important to support each other. I don't know. That was a really rambling thought. Sorry, I didn't know where I was going with it.
It was awesome. That was a great ramble. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know where it was going.
No, I got a lot of things from that actually, and one was like, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I do want to create a safe space to support women jiu-jitsu. And so when we opened up, right from the very beginning, I wanted to have a women's program. And so I picked Saturday to have like a women's open mat. And at first, I just stepped out. It was an hour where I got off the mat and the women could go on and do their thing, right? And there was no really structure. Every once in a while, there'd be a few women, like 3 or something, and then they'd ask me a question. Okay, I was like, okay, I'll help you, but like, right, and then I'll leave, right? But eventually it kind of fostered its own. And then when you came to the team, I asked if you would lead that program. And you were doing an awesome job and helping to support, like you mentioned, which is really important, to help support people in your community. And not that long ago, we decided to turn it into the self-defense classes, which is why we did the seminar, which we already talked about. But I think I'm just happy that we're doing that. And another thing I took out of it was like the huge thing was the support from your family, which is something that you were fostered, which you were very lucky and blessed on in that aspect, because like you said, some people aren't, and then that leads into later in life. But yeah, I'm very blessed as well with Keiko, because like huge support in my jiu-jitsu.
She's amazing, by the way, amazing. She's the boss.
She's the boss. But she would never take that away from me, right? Because jiu-jitsu is a huge part of my life. It's my livelihood now. I have my own dojo. But yeah, the story of that forum with the partner that didn't want their girlfriend or wife to do jiu-jitsu sounds very suppressing.
Yeah, I think it was just one tournament or something, but it was still like you're delaying this whatever even more. It's like, well, it might be the last time because I think they wanted to have kids or whatever, and like he was upset that she wanted to do the tournament when she's the one who's gonna give birth. Like so it's like it was interesting. It was I didn't get any like I didn't read much more context, but the woman was like, I can't imagine the things that I wrote in my post. Like, I can't imagine not supporting my partner in whatever. That's what she said. I'm like, you already know. It's like, and I'm like, I think you know the answer to what you want to do. I think you know your answer. You already wrote it in your post. But like, sometimes people, like I said, journaling it seemed like more of like a journal. It was like a journal entry, but like asking for help. But she already wrote, I can't imagine this and this, and then and like there was something else. I was like, you know what you want, and I don't know, like it's up to you what happens, like you already know. A lot of us have the answers inside, and like need more like support, which is great. Like that she was asking for support, but a lot of us know the answers inside, regardless of gender, like, but like sometimes more so for women. It's like we know the answers, but sometimes we just have to
trust your intuition.
Trust your intuition, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned like when you try to help somebody, right, and you want to help them help themselves.
Yes.
Because if you ask a question, I bet you on that forum, as an example, since we're going on that tangent for a little bit longer, but I bet on that forum there's a lot of people that came in and said, do this, do that, like, you know what I mean? Like, right? But when you had a great post, which is, you shared your experience. Like, I can't imagine that happening with my partner, or I would act this way with my partner, or whatever, right? But you don't want to, if you tell somebody, like, do this, you should do this, then they're going to be less receptive. But if you help them to look inside and trust their intuition and make their own decision, then I think that's a better way of coaching. Yeah,
like helping people decide. Like even when I was like in the healing world, I was a massage therapist. I did healing work for a bit. It's like we don't give advice. Like even as like we don't give advice. Like it's like I never even called myself people sometimes would call me a healer. I would never call myself. I would say I would help people heal themselves. Just like as a coach, we help people get better. Like we're not getting them better. We're helping them figure out that part in themselves in however way we can help themselves get better. Yeah. So it's like, like advice is really hard, especially relationship advice. Like people are like, you should do this or you should do that.
Dump his ass.
Exactly. but like I don't like, I've been in a relationship. Many people have been in relationships. Like,
yeah, it's complicated.
It's complicated, and it's like no matter what people tell you, they're not going to hear it, right? So it's like, so and we know that, but people still say like, oh, you shouldn't do this with him. He sucks. Leave him. It's like it's not that easy, But it's like, at least if it's especially a relationship, and it can apply to life in general. It's like help them see like different things, like. Not manipulatively, but like say or ask, check in to see how they actually feel. Like what is it that you want? Because sometimes people like I don't know what I want. It's like, okay, well, first of all, what do you want? Like what do you want to like? Even in jiu-jitsu, like what do you want to achieve? Like what is your goal here? It's like a lot of times, and like I'm sure like as a coach, you've had and a business owner or like fostering people and like helping them build. It's like, what is your goal? Like, what is like, that's something that when I'm working with people, like, and I work with people, that's sometimes the first question. I'm like, oh,
it's a great question.
That question again, I knew you were going to ask it, it's like even something so small. I asked Abraham, hi Abraham. I asked him for like a workout program because he's a huge like resource and so helpful. And really awesome. I'm like, can you help me with just something so simple, like, can you help me with a workout program? It's like, what's your goal? I'm like, ugh, I knew you were gonna ask that. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's
How can help you without having some context?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's so applicable. It's like, what is your goal? What is your aim? It's like even in a jiu-jitsu move, it's like, how do I do this? And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to go from here? It's like, do I do this, or what if this happens? The what if questions.
Yeah.
What if this happens, and what if this happens? It's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what is your actual goal to get out of, like, to do? What do you want to actually do? So I think that question applies so many different ways. What is your goal? Even though it seems it's such an easy question. It's like a simple question, but it's not easy. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
No, exactly. And I find that's like jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is simple.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
Exactly.
Right? And I think it's a perfect example when you're coaching jiu-jitsu. My professor always told me that he could only teach 20%. The other 80% you have to learn on your own. And with me, like, any question I'd ask, for the most part, I would say 90% of the questions I ask him, he'd make me find the answer.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating, but I'm very appreciative because it helped me to pay more attention. And I'm not that strict on my students, but I'm like that with certain students. And I try, like you said, like asking those questions, what is your goal right here, right? And trying to go from there. So I think it was a certain point in my jiu-jitsu not too long ago where I started to understand in every moment during the training what is the priority at that moment. And because, and sometimes I still mess up, and that's when I'll get caught when I'm not realizing the priority in that moment. But I think that's where a lot of people, their goal might be not the right goal for that moment, right? Like someone's like, I want to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, but that's like way up here. You have a lot of goals to get there.
Yeah.
Right, so I want to pass the guard. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're not paying attention. They have a lasso grip here. Your other arm's in a spider. You're off balance. You're not going to pass the guard. So like you have like 10 things to do before you pass the guard, right? So, but they're not thinking. They're just thinking pass, right? So you have to then try to change their perspective to like where it needs to be, where the attention needs to be now. And if if we tell them, all right, you need to break the grip here, you need to change your balance there, you need to do this, you know, shift your weight here, and then do that, they're not going to remember anything.
Oh yeah, and like understanding the why of what you're doing something. I remember as a blue belt, one of my coaches, my main coach through purple belt, I was like, how do I pass this daily Hiva? And like, what do I do here? And the one thing he goes, what's bothering you the most? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I have no idea what's bothering me. It's like that goes to like, what's your goal? And like, and even like like you said, prioritizing what is happening in the role, like that's huge. It's like, and I heard you say to Pramea the other day, position over submission. He was going for whatever he was going for.
Oh, I was joking with him.
No, I know, but we joked about that the other day too. It's like, okay. But that's like another, like it was a joke. It's like, I know, it's like he just wants the legs, but it's like, position over, it's like, like even jokingly, those priorities are like, it's like, and jumping from A to B, like, it's like, what is it? Step 1, collect underpants. Step 3, profit. I don't know. It was like something.
Yeah.
Like,
they didn't have a step 2.
They didn't have a step 2. Yeah, that's like from South Park, I think. And but yeah, like getting from like, first of all, what is your goal and what are the steps to get there? Is like, but it's also so reflective of life too. Like I always like, we joke about like jiu-jitsu is life, but like for me, it really is. Like I recently started doing bachata, right? And on Saturday, I made jokes about bachata, and coach was like, why does everything go back to bachata? Well, like, it's big right now for me, but when I'm at bachata, all we're talking about is jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you knew that. So it's like, that's cool. So like when I'm here now, like I'm like, oh, this is like it's just kind of like bachata, and like we do this and like whatever, but honestly, when we're at bachata, all we talk about is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So like, just so like you know.
I don't know. Well, but if and when I go to bachata,
Yes, you will.
I get to have the underhook.
You do, and it's really annoying. I'm like, oh, every time it happens, I'm like, because at the studio that we train at,
Yeah.
our home
Practice,
gym,
or-
yeah, it's our home gym. It's Studio M, our teacher Noelani is a basics teacher, and she knows, like, she's friends with one of my friends who also does jujitsu and helps and teaches me also, like. He got me into it, but like he knows a bunch of us do jujitsu. She knows, like Noelani knows that we do jujitsu. And she's like, "This is not jujitsu. Like, don't hurt each other." You know, like jokingly.
Yeah,
This, like, and sometimes like in the past when there's a lot of us from jujitsu in the class, and that she knows that when she does something like a move with her body, it's like it's kind of like jujitsu. And she's like, I don't know if that's right. But like, you know, so
Yeah.
it's like we're like, oh, but like, and like. Anyway, the thing about Studio M is that it's a really open environment, and like anyone is allowed to lead or follow, which normally followers are usually the females and the leads are usually the males, but it's very open. Like she suggests learning both follow and lead, and I've been mainly following because leading can be stressful. But it's like for me, it's kind of like the split between guard players and passers, like top and bottom players. Like, it's like I would work on, and this is how I relate it back. It's like, I generally am a guard player, right? And so I'm comfortable following, like as a lead. So like a guard passer, like pushing the pace a little bit more, which is different, you know, like
in general,
like in different, but I've been working on my passing for a while, but I know at a point I'm going to have to do both, because when I'm with my friends, like I lead, but I forget how to do it because I only learned the follow parts. But anyway, it's bachata again. So yeah.
Well, jiu-jitsu has both sides, right?
Exactly.
And so the more you understand one side, the more you'll be able to understand the other side. So we all, I mean, as for me in our Purple Belt program, which we just released to the public, in order to earn the Purple Belt, the person should have an understanding of both the top and the bottom, passing and guard passing. They don't have to be like, you know, they're probably most likely most people will be more proficient at one, but they should have both, right? And I think there's, you know, certain people or certain gyms that we're guard passers. We don't play the bottom. Well, what happens when someone takes you down? Like how are you going to get back on top?
Exactly.
Like if you don't know how to sweep or how to get back up. So I think everyone should play both.
I think especially that blue to purple, when you're really honing your craft and learning your game, it's important. And then like purple belt, like for me to get to blue to purple, that was important to understand the top and bottom. And then purple, you really start refining. Purple to brown, like you refine everything for me. But like, yeah, like for me, the reason why I had to start, I would compete a lot in the beginning. I don't compete much anymore, but like I would pull guard and play guard. And it got to a point where I would sweep a lot and get on top. And I was like, oh man, now I have to learn how to pass. So like I started working on my passing game. And I was like, okay, I don't want to work on passing anymore. It's tiring. So I'm going to go back to guard. But like I would go back and forth, because like when you get to a point playing guard and you get, you know, pretty proficient at it, then you end up on top anyway.
Right.
Or right? Like you end up, and it's like, well, now.
So then you have those people that in a tournament, they'll wait till the last minute to sweep.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah.
Then what a kind of a boring game.
It is. Yeah. Especially like before they changed the rules. Yeah. Especially before they changed the rules, like in 50-50, like people would just wait. 50-50. Like.
Yeah. I'm going to sweep you now because I know you're going to sweep me then. And I mean, it's strategic, but there's something very beautiful, I think, especially like watching Mika Galvan. I was just watching his match for WNO against the gentleman from B Team, the Japanese gentleman.
Oh yeah, I watched that one too. Yeah. What's his name?
I think Kenda. I don't know. I apologize. I don't know. That was the first time I've seen him compete, but it seems like he's been.
He's a Japanese competitor who's like really, really good. Like really good.
His takedowns were awesome.
So amazing. I was like, oh my gosh.
Every time that he would take Mika down, Mika would just be jumping on something. And but what was so beautiful is that like he's doing his jiu-jitsu without any like worry about what's next. He's doing the jiu-jitsu at that moment, like losing himself in it, and that's his strategy. Like he's not overly cautious. Like I love Tyne and Dalbra, and these guys are like they're gonna mop the floor with me. Okay, so anything I say, I'm just comparing what I'm noticing between those two competitors. I love Tyne and Dalbra's guard passing. I think he's, my opinion, probably one of the top, if not the best guard passer at the moment right now. So I watch him, and I'm like, man, that guy. I wish I could pass guard like him. Or I learn how he passes the guard. I'm like, okay, how he does this and this. But I watched his match against Taza, and maybe this is because of who he's going against.
Yeah.
You know, every match is different depending on your opponent. But you know, when he passes the guard and he plays on top, he's a little more cautious. He doesn't let it all hang out like Mika does, right? And so I think it's both styles, but there's something beautiful about watching Mika Galvão just let it all hang out and not be so overly strategic.
And like I'm like, you know, he has got all that strategy in his head, but like he hits that flow state, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like flow state was a big thing for me a few years ago. Like hitting that where you're just like, in the zone. Like some of like in that match, Mika Gawa had like so many amazing like submission chains, and like his flow from one submission to the next like looked like it was water. I was like, oh my God, like it was so smooth. And I was like, wow.
But it was like water crashing into a rock.
Exactly, no, for sure, yeah. It was like the water that like breaks the rocks, you know, but it's like everything was so controlled and so smooth, and I was like, oh my God, like wow. Like I knew how good Mika Gawa was, but like I think that was the moment that I was like, oh my God.
Next level.
I know he's amazing, but like I haven't really studied a lot of his film as much as I should, but like
I watch a lot of his competition stuff, and I'm just like, there's nobody like him.
No, he's amazing. Yeah. Like I watched this one match between Mika and Tariq, and I forgot, it was like in a recent tournament, and he was and I was teaching the same technique that week. Like it was like the arm across. Did you watch that match? It's just the arm across to take the back. And I was like, and I was showing my students at Stanford, like, look, this is what we're doing, but this is high level. So what Mika...
But basic. It was a very fundamental.
It was very fundamental. Yeah. Like he brought the arm across, was going towards the back, Tariq stood up, and Mika kept pushing the arm across. And it was just the way that and then he made it to mount and like, took the back, whatever. But like, just the way that he did it was like, so fundamental, like, and like other people like Fionn Davis. I went to a seminar with Fionn after she won ADCC, I think, and even she goes like, she hits a flow state too. Like it's like, but it's all fundamentals. She's like, I do advanced fundamentals. She's like, she doesn't do anything as fancy, and like I don't think. Like everything Mika, like he does some fancy stuff, but a lot of it is like very fundamental, but like the fundamentals are like so clean and so crisp and like so fast. And it's like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but like Fionn Davis, the same thing. Like that one woman was like saying, what are you gonna do, knee cut me?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, she's gonna knee, and she did, you know, and it's like, here's my knee cut. Like obviously like it's like such a fundamental move, but like, you know, and that's circling back to whatever we were talking about. I don't know, we're kind of lost in the weeds here, but like, that's why when white belts ask like, what should I learn? It's like, work on your fundamentals. Like I have like certain people saying, how do I do this? Can I drill this on you? And it's like, I want to foster their learning. Like, that's amazing that you want to learn that, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of it, it's like, learn the fundamentals first. Because a lot of times it's just fundamentals, you know, like not just, but like, fundamentals
that's
with
your building
flavor.
Blocks.
Yeah, fundamentals with flavor. You know, like you put your own, you know, spice on it, and you know, like a lot of the stuff I do is just so like half guard, like our half guard stuff. Like my half guard and his half guard stuff are totally different, but like our half guard, like our half guards, like so fundamental, but it's like doing it for so long, you've been doing it like twice as long as me, but it's like doing it so long, it's like people still have a hard time, even though they know what's coming. It's just that you do the fundamentals, or whoever, we do fundamentals so like so effectively, like not better or worse than anybody, but effectively at that moment. It's like, you knew what I was doing. I tell my students, we just went over this, or you already know this move, but like I just did what we learned today. Because when I come to fundamentals class, like,
and they're like, I know, I saw it coming and I couldn't stop it.
Exactly. It's like, I just did what we did today. Like I just did what we learned. So, because so.
Totally. And I think you're talking about like reiterating the fundamentals with the white belts, and not only white belts, like I go all belts, even black belts, right? You want to go back to the fundamentals on a regular basis. You're going to go back to the fundamentals always, right? Whether like us, we teach fundamentals. So I live in the fundamentals. Yes. I teach every day fundamentals to kids, to adults, right? And then when I teach something the 100th time, like I'm like, oh shoot, I just saw something totally different. And so then it just starts making your fundamental, like Fionn says, is make your fundamentals advanced, right? But then, with jiu-jitsu the way it is with YouTube, it's hard to keep people in the fundamentals, right? Because nobody wants to put, nobody wants to put on their YouTube channel, I'm going to show you how to do an UPA escape.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just saw this move on Instagram. It's called the UPA.
Yeah.
How can you teach this in class, right? Because then you have students that are new, and then they're catching the jiu-jitsu bug, and they're searching on YouTube, and they're seeing really cool looking moves and techniques that they're just maybe not quite ready. But like you said, you want to foster them in a way because you never know. Some people, they learn just differently, and they might take some of these things and learn it and gather in their own way, but you want to also like steer them. That's great. And here's a shrimp.
It's like, make sure, it's like, these things are really cool, but make sure you already know, like, how could you even get there in the first place? You know, like, how would you even get to that move? Like, you have to know how to do this and this and this first before you get there. It's like, remember, it's like, and also like, this happened in like our member chat. Somebody asked, is the 11 o'clock class the same as 6:30 tonight? And I'm like, no. But even so, if you learn fundamentals from different people, they're going to teach it differently, and you might hear something that you'll learn better. Or like, I like learning fundamentals from different people because everyone has their own flavor and has their own priorities when they teach it. Like, what do they prioritize over and why? And like at the level, like at the brown belt level, I like want to know the why a lot. Like why, and like when would you do this, and why would you do this type of thing. And just like, and I know my friend Aubrey, she's a black belt, and she awarded me my brown belt, and she likes going to fundamentals classes too, because she learned something new as a black belt. She's like, I'm going to go to fundamentals. I'm like, cool. It's like, and she would even say, like, I learned this thing, she doesn't train as much right now, but like, this was a cool detail that I learned that I'm going to add to my arsenal of fundamental moves. Cause like everybody has their own experience in different things, but like the way that we learn and teach fundamentals is so individual to the instructor, so it's like, even though we go through fundamentals, and that's why how I like that you are like, okay, I'm going to do the fundamentals these days, and then we're going to do our own spin on them. That's how you restructured the fundamentals right now. Yeah. And it's like, that's important because there's so much more to these moves that, like we're not showing right now, but know that it's not a move in isolation. It's a move that you can use in sequence with something. You just have to learn how to put it together. It's like, you know how to get from here to here, but getting from here to there can sometimes be difficult. Yeah. It's like so important to do that, like to know.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, especially like, I think that was a great thing that we did was to help our students because now they're learning fundamentals from different coaches, and they're learning it from a different way or a different perspective because I'll teach the two classes Monday and Tuesday, the fundamentals classes, and then Coach Giglio coaches on Wednesday, and Coach Mark coaches on Thursday. But they're pretty much coaching the same first two classes, but then in their own style and with their own little spin. And then I assist them during the class, and I'm like, oh wow, like that's how Giglio does a double leg, or that's how Mark did a double leg, and Mark did a double leg, and he did it into this. It's like, oh, okay. So I hope that the students are getting something out of that.
Yeah, because it's so like, and sometimes if you're a white belt, sometimes you can't appreciate that because like we all have our different lineages of jiu-jitsu. We all have our different body types and our own strengths, and the things that we'd like to do, like what we gravitate towards is so different from each other. Like I don't know Coach Giglio's game, but I know Coach Mac likes to do lots of leg attacks, and he's so long and lanky. He can do things that I can definitely not do. And I haven't trained much with Coach G, but like he's a big, strong man, and he's probably can do things that I can't do either, and I can probably do some things that he can't do, like more comfortably. And I like the exposure to so many things because I like that idea. But like, yeah, you learn different pathways, you know. So.
And I'm hoping that it's good for the students because, like you said, if you get different perspectives, someone will resonate with certain people in that class or in that moment, and others might resonate with other people. But it's important to try different styles.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because we all came from different places, you know, and we, you know, like someone like me might have different martial arts experience too. And like you can, you know, like you're a black belt in judo also. So maybe some things that you do like in your stand-up are different than what I would do in my stand-up. I do more wrestling stuff, you know, so I don't really do much judo, but I have to know it, you know, even if I don't want to do it, I should know it, you know, like even if, like with Coach G and Coach Mark, like even if I'm not going to do those things, like even though I'm not going to do whatever they show, I need to know it so I can like either work with it or try it or attempt it or counteract it. You know, like it's being exposed to more things.
Exactly, be exposed. Then you're not surprised when it happens. You're like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. Now I'm not caught off guard or.
Yeah, and that's something also like related note. That's something that I've been offering to like students here. It's like just because you're playing top or bottom and you're just feeding things, like pay attention to what's happening. Because even though you're just like, don't be a passive participant, even if you're just helping your friend train. Pay attention to where the pressure is and what you can do in addition to it. And that's something that I picked up from my PTK, my Kali coach. His name's Gary. We train up in Foster City. And even though we're doing weapons work, you know, even if it's the other person's turn, you know, you're still watching the stick, you're still watching the hand, you're still watching the body, even though you're just feeding for the other person. I think it's easy to get lazy in jiu-jitsu as a partner, being like, oh no, like it armbarred me, but
thinking about like something else.
Exactly, but I think, exactly, but I think like it's just something I started doing. I think if you could be, I'm sure other people do it too, but like it just occurred to me, like if both top and bottom, wherever you're at, like can be an more active participant in even just drilling, it would be more effective when you get to positional sparring and then sparring, you know, like when you get to be more active. I'm seeing how it works out. Like be more, like I'm trying to figure out how to word it better for jiu-jitsu. Like be a more active participant. Like I don't know how to say that. Like be mindful of whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to.
With the kids, when I have a partner that's like that, I tell them not to think about sushi. Or stop thinking about pizza. Yeah. Because you could tell they're not paying attention. They're thinking about something else, right? A pizza or a video game or whatever, right? They're daydreaming. But then if you have a partner who's more active, maybe we could active, some people might think like resist.
Yes,
right? Yeah. So, but if they're paying attention to that other side of the technique, then they can help their partner. Right, because they're noticing, oh man, my partner hips are too far away, or they're like, I might be able to do this, or my partner, the weight distribution is not correct. Or at the same time, they're like, okay, when they are attacking my arm here, if I go this way, oh, that's danger. If I go this way, okay, a little relief. Like they're being just more aware, right, which is so important. And then they can communicate with their partner and help each other, right? Then it's just going to foster so much more learning.
Yeah, I try to have to, like, especially when I teach kids, it's like if I say to the kids that I teach, like, be an active participant, they were like, what? It's like, but if I'm like, that's hard. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it to the kids. Like, you want to do this? Like I say, I think, don't be too floppy, but don't be like too, like say something like that. But for the adults, I'm trying to find a way to word it, like, be an active participant, not like fight back, but like actively try to understand what's happening. And maybe you could also help and like give feedback, just to keep the person engaged, like help your partner, give feedback, whatever, give resistance if it's okay, like, I don't know how to communicate that yet, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's important to just understand that the people that are the uke are also working. So it's like it's an art to be a uke.
It is, yeah, yeah. Like, which I noticed. We were harassing Ella last night. She's like the worst uke. She doesn't even know. Right and left, but like, there is
shots fired.
Exactly. But yeah, like
she's doing her best.
She's doing her best. At least she showed up.
Yeah, she did 75%.
75%.
She's not a C student. She's an A student, so she's not happy with 75%.
She'd be so offended, coach. Yeah. But yeah, it's like learning how to be a good uke is also very difficult. And like, I picked up the habit of being a good uke just like being an uke for so long, and like just understanding. Also, it helps being an educator as well and another coach, like understanding what the students need to see, and like even like lifting my gi up if they need to see a grip. But like being an uke when teaching is a little bit different, but it's just kind of the same when you're drilling with a partner, right? And it being like how do we? That's the thing. Like how to be a good uke? Like like that would be a cool like.
When I tell people as my uke, a good uke makes you look really good. So they should make that technique look effortless and look perfect, right? Because like everything has two sides. So if they understand the technique, they should know how to move with me to make it look effortless, right? So if you're doing, and I think this is important when you're learning a new move with a partner, like you shouldn't be finding holes in the technique yet. You should be helping the student feel what a perfect technique feels like.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what I think is important at the very beginning is okay, so if the person knows, let's just say armbar from the guard, they know that my arm has to go in. So as they go for the arm bar, I'm going to break my own posture and bring that arm in and rotate my body the way that they want to make it feel, right? So I am moving with them, but I'm not leading, I'm following. So that's, I think, important from the very beginning, right? And then over time, you could start to offer however you want to do it, active partner, minimal resistance, what if this, kind of build off that. But I think in the beginning, people, if the person is not working with them, this doesn't feel right. This feels weird. This technique's not going to work. Then they lose trust in the technique. Yeah,
and they lose confidence too. It's so easy. Like if something doesn't go right in drilling, it's so easy to lose confidence in the technique. Like this is BS. Like this sucks. Yeah. Like But I like what you said. I never thought about it that way. Like make your part as a good uke, make your partner look perfect. I like that a lot. Like I'm trying to figure out how to integrate that. I might use it today because I like even seeing some white belts drill, and I'm like, I told you like minimal resistance. Like even if you say it out loud, they don't understand what that means, and I'm gonna just fight you. It's like, no, that's not what we're here for, Yeah,
I had to talk to a student not too long ago about that, and they just didn't understand. They thought they were helping their partner.
Yeah.
So I was like, did they ask for resistance? No. well, because I was giving resistance, they were able to do this. Like they thought they were helping them, and I bet you that partner doesn't have confidence in that sweep now because your partner was making it not work. Like if you're practicing a sweep on me, I can make it not work.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that sweep's not gonna work. Nope, because of this, I'm gonna do this. Like, of course, then that leads to this, right? The what ifs, like, oh, we can go on forever, right? What if this? Okay, then this, and then what if this? Then it never ends. But we're focusing on this right now. We're isolating this position, and because even within this one technique, there's so much going on that's important for jiu-jitsu, like your hips and your connection and the push pull and the tension and all these things that you're feeling. Because I always say jiu-jitsu is a feeling, right? So you want as a uke, you want to make your partner look good. You want to make your partner look perfect. And then you want them to feel what a perfect technique feels like. So I think that's what a good uke is.
I think I like that a lot. And like, I'm going to start saying that. You might hear me say that a lot. Cool. Like make your partner look perfect. But I always say like, if agreed upon, you can increase resistance. I always say like, if start nice and easy, but when agreed upon, you can pick it up, the resistance with agreement between the two of you. But you still want like 100% success in drilling, you need 100% success. But then when you get to positional, the percentages of success will decrease. But like when you're drilling, it should work 100% of the time. Like there's no reason in drilling for something not to work. And it's so easy, like we said, like it's so easy to lose confidence and so much of jiu-jitsu is like being confident in what you're doing and like it's so much more mental than people think. Yeah. It's like
you have to believe that it's going to work.
You have to believe in it, yeah. And like that's something that that Fionn Davis said in her thing. I hope I'm not misquoting. It's like somebody asked her, "How are you doing so well right now?" She's like, "I started believing in my jiu-jitsu." Yeah. And it's like, okay, I'll believe in my jiu-jitsu too. Because like as a brown belt, I have so much like imposter syndrome, but it's like I need to believe in my jiu-jitsu. Sometimes I wake up like, what am I doing? But it's like, I have to believe that I actually know what I'm doing,
I think that's the hugest difference in the champions, is that they believe, like when they go out there, right? Most of them, you still have some, I think, that I've spoken openly about, like going out there, like really nervous. But I think over time, they start believing, in themselves. And they just like, many of them, they go on the mat and they're like, they have such confidence knowing that I'm here to take it. I'm here to win. I'm here to like, they're going to have to take it from me,
Yeah, like
kind
of
a mindset.
Yeah, those champions, the multiple gold medals, like they have an unwavering belief in themselves. And it's like, sometimes it's like, ugh, but like you have to be that way sometimes. Exactly. You have to have that mental space to like be like, I am the best, And sometimes the best, like, they're like, oh, so nonchalant about it, which is also cool. You get to a point where you're like, I'm the best, whatever, like I'm going to do it anyway, so. But yeah, like you're saying, like what separates like some people from the others, like believing in it, like it sounds so cheesy, but it's like, you got to believe, like, and so even like coaching tournaments, it's like, believe in it, like believe in the technique, like
just go for it,
believe in it, like you have it. And so, and like, sometimes it seems so silly to say, but like I've even done it. Like I've like, even like just like training or like in comp, whatever. It's like, if you don't commit to it and believe in it, it's hard to even do it or try it, so, and that's also like life.
my I did jiu-jitsu for a long time. I still am, obviously, but I'm talking about competition. And then, I don't know, I guess I always thought like, martial arts is humbling and you want to be, you want to stay in your place and not feel like you're the best or be cocky. And I kind of had that mentality with martial arts. And then my judo coach, David Williams, is, when it comes to competition, extremely cocky. And I'm like, whoa. He's like, yeah, man, like you have to have that belief, and like when you go out there and you're the best, and then I started to realize other people were doing that, and that helped me a lot with competition. Is like, you know what, you can have that mentality, and still be humble, right? Like, it's just a mindset.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely. It's definitely a mindset.
I want to talk about some of those stickers on your
Sure.
on your.
Yeah. So
So let's go over one here. Okay, so the aggressive cuddling club. What is that?
So I in everyday life, even on the mat, I'm really cuddly and I love hugging people. And I heard jujitsu called aggressive cuddling one time, and I was like, we're in the club.
Yeah.
That's the club. That's the club that we have. We're in the aggressive cuddling club. And so that's that one. So I made a round sticker, and I made one. My friend Peter helped me make one that looks like the ADCC letters, but just ACC, and under it says Aggressive Cuddling Club. So thank you, Peter, for that. The one under it, it's a bunch of triangles, and it says it's Pekiti Tirsia, not Pekiti Standstill. And that's my coach's Tuhan, which is like, I guess, sensei, Tim Wade, my coach, Gary. That's something that a lot of Pekiti Tirsia people say. It's like, because Pekiti Tirsia, at least our style of PTK, like, we're always moving, because you have to either get out of the way of attacks or initiate your attack. So that's that one. And then I have my De La Soul sticker, De La Soul Muay Thai. It's another spot that I teach at and train at. And so I gladly rep them. On the other side, I have a sticker called Kapwa Fitness. And that's like an initiative that my brother and I started. Kapwa, in Filipino terms, it's like knowing the self and the other. And that's one place that I really said I would foster, like, that's where I say fitness through the bodies, fitness through of all bodies. I can't remember what it said.
Yeah.
Or wellness through fitness of the bodies. That's what I say for Kapwa Fitness. And so that's like a space when I do a lot of my Filipino American community work and community organizing, and also my Kali. And the last sticker I have is my logo. I have a personal logo. Like, when my friend Janelyn and I would do facilitate different workshops, she has her own logo to brand her, like, her slideshows. I'm like, I'm gonna do one too.
Oh, cool.
And so it's based off of a lot of the tattoos I have. So it's like based on Filipino tattoos. And the top and the bottom are like, these two are like crocodile teeth, right? And these two diamonds are like seeing onto the other side, the other worlds, And this was actually an accident. This shape, it looks like an hourglass, but it's also like a mortar and pestle for rice, and also like a boat, and it's like transporting yourself between the worlds, basically. And like
like a bridge.
Like a bridge, yeah. And so I got all that information from one of my mentors, Lane Wilkin. He specializes in traditional Filipino tattoos, and I met him many years ago, and he's still a big mentor, even though we don't talk much. But he's he's one of the experts right now on indigenous Filipino tattoos, and so he helped me. I got his blessing to use these symbols, and so yeah. And this is a snowflake. I substitute teach in classrooms, and there's a first grader who can be a little bit difficult, but he's like, that day we connected, and he's like, I want to give you a sticker. And I was like, okay. And so he just put the sticker on. I'm like, thank you. That was really nice. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, that was really nice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he has a bad day, sometimes he has a good day, and it was a nice day that he had, and I was really happy about it. So I kept it. I usually like, put stickers on my thing, but I was like, that was really sweet. So I was like, that's a good reminder.
Yeah, that has a deep meaning right there.
Yeah, I was like, oh yay,
Kapwa Fitness. That was the name of your podcast also, right? Cultivating Kapwa.
Cultivating Kapwa, yeah. So that's different. So Cultivating Kapwa is a podcast with me and my friend Janelyn in the Bronx. And she's an amazing community organizer, spiritual worker, and a healer in the Filipino American community. And I love and respect her so much. And during the pandemic, we were part of an organization that we are no longer part of, but we really wanted to, we were bored, and we wanted to do something for the community. And so we started a podcast called Cultivating Kapwa, and we have like 13,000 plus downloads. We ended it a couple years ago. We have 3 seasons. And the first season is our conversations between us and one of our elders, Lenny Strobel, who is a big leader and a big figure in the Filipino-American decolonial work spectrum. And so those were conversations with her because she founded this organization, the Center for Babaylan Studies, which we were a part of. And just amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. I'm so blessed to have all these mentors and really amazing friends. The second season, we talked about how is decolonization showing up in your life with different people in the Filipino-American community. And the third was like decolonizing parenting, and which were other people in the community with children, either their own children or children that they have, from other ways, and really looking at parenting in a different way, and how do you express your values or teach the things that are important to you and the way you see the world. How do you teach that to your children, and how do you live in a way that's authentic to yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally? So it was a really important part of my life, and she and I are trying to put something else together with the rest of our friends. I mentioned them before, and so it's on Instagram, Cultivating Kapwa. It's also on Spotify and Google. You'll hear my podcast voice.
You have a really good podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Voice.
Thank you so much. Yeah. You kind of like.
Yeah, I listened to the episode not too long ago, and I was like, oh, that's Olivia.
Yeah.
Nice voice. Yeah, really good podcast.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to. I tell people that there was a skit on SNL years ago, and it was like Anna Gasteyer and Molly Shannon, and they were like, their skit was they were NPR hosts, and they would always talk really slow and really quiet about like ridiculous things, and I just making fun of them, and just knowing how microphones work and stuff, and just like stage voice. Yeah.
All right. Coach Olivia, I could definitely talk to you like forever. There's so many things that I want to continue to talk about, and I'm glad that we have the space to hang out and we could talk more about that. But thanks just for the conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this podcast today?
No, thanks everyone for listening. If you're listening, catch me online. You can. I'm at Olivia of Doom on Instagram. It was from college. I use it in my professional life, and so do that. Yeah, so you can find me there, or you just find me at the gym. You can find me here at De La Soul, and I'm around. Ask me anything. So.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. See you. I got the underhook.